The only pay-per-views that I order are UFCs on a monthly basis. Sometimes TNA. It all depends. Like Victory Road, I'll order because I believe Taz is going to be there. They put that video up on Facebook last week, so it looks like he's gonna be there. And then they last week at the Impact tapings, they really plugged it up like he was going to be there at Victory Road. So I may order that. You know, when I know something big is going to go down on the pay-per-view, I'll give it a shot, or I'll throw down the money. You know what I mean? But as far as a stream was concerned, for the WWE Bash pay-per-view on Sunday night, I missed. It was in and out. It cut in and out. Well, I don't use the Justin TVs or whatever the other one is there. I mean, they're really cutting back on that stuff nowadays anyway. But the one that I had was I used a Winamp. It's through Winamp, and it was not. It was bugging out on Sunday night, so I saw some, and I didn't see others. But I know we kicked things off. We had an ECW title match, a scramble match. We had Tommy Dreamer, Christian, Jack Swagger, Mark Henry, and Finley. So you're kind of going to have to guide me through, because for the first 25 minutes here of the pay-per-view, I was not there, or I was having a lot of issues.
It wasn't actually a bad match. The scramble match, it's almost kind of like the little Royal Rumble. I think it was like every 2 minutes or every minute or something like that, someone comes in. But it's at the end, of course, Tommy Dreamer retained his title. Overall, pay-per-view, I really hope they continue coasting Tommy Dreamer as a champion, at least up until next year's WrestleMania. I know that he signed, either a 2 or 3 year, renewal contract with the WWE, so he's not going anywhere anytime soon. And I don't know. It's just now that that there's some changes going on in ECW talent-wise. A lot of the younger guys are leaving. A little bit of the older fellas are coming in. It's going to be interesting what they're going to continue developing over there in ECW.
Yeah, but ECW got screwed in
of course. They always get screwed. I've come to terms. Honestly, I've come to terms to understand what ECW is for the WWE. I really wish we kind of had at least a little bit of a teaser of this old school ECW, and I think that's one of the reasons why Tommy Dreamer is the heavyweight champion, because at least he's an old school ECW. It gives you that when he does his little back to forth flip and ECW.
Yeah, the problem is, dude, is on ECW on a weekly basis you had Evan Bourne was always featured, and you would look forward to ECW for a great match or the high-flying Evan Bourne. And then they had really started to push the Hart Foundation over on ECW as well, and both of those guys were drafted out. And I know everybody on the internet today says, why not Christian? Why not Christian? You know what I mean? And I don't know, I feel like ECW just got, well, we all know ECW just got totally screwed during that draft. I don't know.
It's definitely McMahon's version of bringing these younger stars. You have 3 levels. Your highest level is being on Monday Night Raw. You have SmackDown, which is your middle level, and then you have your lower level, which of course now Goldust and whoever else got drafted. Shows you how much I pay attention. Shelton Benjamin, who used to be on ECW, and then he got drafted to SmackDown. So it's definitely, ECW definitely got screwed. They lost the Hart Foundation to SmackDown, but I'm not surprised, because it's now they want to have a larger global platform to expose these young individuals, and that's what ECW is. ECW, right. You only get a couple of million viewers compared to a SmackDown, or even better, to 7 million viewers last week that Raw made out. So
right, but you know damn well that Evan Bourne gets completely. I mean, Evan Bourne on Raw. I mean, that to me just signals jobber. You know what I mean?
No, I don't think they don't see him that way though. I don't really think that. A perfect example, Kofi. Yeah, Kofi is a little bit taller, but they almost have the same physique. Kofi's a lot more slimmer. So it's I think bringing Evan Bourne to Monday Night Raw will not only give him the opportunity to showcase to a much larger audience, but I really don't think that they're going to start jobbing him to Mark Henry. I think they're going to kind of let him go. And then the first person that, when we say let go, is Brian Kendrick. I honestly feel that that's, we may not see him again on WWE program because it's kind of like
what else, dude? It's other people that we may not see is Finley's over on he's on SmackDown now. He got drafted last night in the draft from ECW to SmackDown. So where does that leave? Well, Hornswoggle hasn't really been there. He's been with Goldust in recent weeks, but now you have Goldust going over to ECW. So Hornswoggle is kind of stuck on Raw. And then what happens with Tony Atlas, who always accompanied Mark Henry to the ring? I mean, he's kind of lost, you know what I mean? So, I
think that's another person that we're probably not going to be seeing anymore.
Yeah.
I think that the time, his TV time at least, has probably expired. And then Hornswoggle would be almost like, when the WWE used the Boogeyman when he came out last, which are kind of like special moments, special spots. And same thing with Goldust, being utilized on Sci-Fi. I mean, it kind of fits their mystique in some sort of way with the channel.
Their freak nature, you know what I mean?
Yeah, and I really like the idea that they had these little oddities, 2 weeks ago when they compared, they had Hornswoggle and Goldust and Fetus, I think, or something like that.
Festus. Yeah. When remember he was on the crapper, and then he came out and he's reading the Wall Street Journal or something like that, and then slapped it out of his hands. But yeah, well, I'll tell you what, we'll hold off because we're doing a lot of draft talk right now, so we'll hold off on that. Let's get through the Bash and then Monday Night Raw. And I hate the way they did that draft, by the way. We know that the draft on a yearly basis draws huge ratings for that show, right? It does, right? Absolutely. All right. So you announce the other 15 names or the other 12 names on WWE.com after the shows. I would say don't announce them, and then have people tune in to ECW or SmackDown this week to find out who gets drafted. You know what I mean? Not that the spoilers aren't going to come out on the websites anyway, but WWE.com has a massive fan base. So I don't know. I thought they were going to save it, and then on ECW this week we would slowly see these new names come in. You know what I mean? And they just bang right after Monday Night Raw they announced the other 12 because we saw 3 of them in the main event of Monday Night Raw last night. So I don't know. We'll save the draft talk for a little bit. Back to the Bash pay-per-view. We had Tommy Dreamer. We said he retained the ECW title in a scramble match. I like that concept where one guy gets the pin and then they become the new champion until somebody pins that person, and then they become the new champion. You know what I mean? And then when the time expires, the champion is, the guy that had the last pinfall, and that turned out to be Tommy Dreamer. So I'm a big fan of scramble matches. I didn't get to see it. You know what I mean? I was in and out, especially the first 25 minutes of that pay-per-view. So one match I did get to see was Chris Jericho versus Rey Mysterio for the Intercontinental title, the title versus mask. Outstanding work by both of these guys. Do you agree?
Absolutely. These two have been what's been reported tearing out house shows, pre-warming up for their match this past Sunday, and I knew the result was going to happen that way. I didn't think it was time yet for Rey to lose his mask. It's Rey having IC title belt. Obviously, we all know Jericho one half of the tag team. And of course, having the IC title is just more of a conflict. Putting on Rey is a good idea. Comes in, SmackDown, builds that Hispanic audience population, give them a title. They go a little bit more crazier over them. I mean, so it's definitely a smart idea to put the IC title back onto Rey. But it was an excellent match.
Yeah, there were some really, really cool spots in this match. I mean, these guys both tore down the house. Jericho posted a Twitter message after it was over that we had on the website that says, Rey Mysterio was just an absolute pleasure to work with, and they meshed so well on that pay-per-view. Probably, in my opinion, the best match of the night for sure. Rey Mysterio and Chris Jericho. They did the finish where Rey had 2 masks on and had one ripped off, and we knew, me and Boone, when we did our predictions last week, I mean, I basically predicted that it was going to end on a DQ finish or something like that, something where Ray wouldn't be unmasked. You know what I mean? And they went that route. Not a DQ finish, but we actually had a new Intercontinental Champion. Ray had the second mask on and then was able to get the win and the IC title as well. Did you see the commercial, the Gillette commercial that they aired during the pay-per-view?
Was that the one with McMahon and John Cena?
Yeah,
that they've been kind of showing on Raw in the last few weeks.
Yeah, that's I've never seen that. Somebody emailed